We've been using the checked 28-inch Voyageur from Level 8 for the past couple years. Having to check in bags gives me severe anxiety, but that is a battle that unfortunately was swiftly won by my wife when we had our second kid. So our go-to system is she packs this guy with her stuff and the two kids' stuff, and then I just take the Bellroy Transit carry-on. Couple backpacks, game over. On this video, I'm gonna be talking about two things. One, sharing my long-term thoughts on the Voyageur, specifically the checked one, and why it remains my go-to recommendation for anyone that wants a well-built, functional check luggage that isn't crazy expensive given the fact that it's gonna be taking a beating. And then on the second part of the video, I'm gonna be comparing the carry-on version of the Voyageur to their brand new Adventure carry-on. It's almost $100 more, so for anyone that's trying to decide between them, I'll share my thoughts on who I think it would make more sense to spend another $90 and go for the Adventure instead. So let's get into it. Man, I do not do reviews standing up, but with luggage like this size, I kind of have to. I am not in my natural element. Okay, so I would say there's three main reasons why this is a standout suitcase for me, for anyone that wants something that's big enough that you're gonna be checking it in. First and foremost is the wide handle, right? This is the defining design element that Level 8 has gained such an awesome reputation for. I have mixed feelings about it, candidly, for the carry-on, which I'll talk about when I get to that, but I think for the bigger size, it is a game changer. I thought maybe it's a gimmick, but it is far from it. There's two big reasons for it. Number one, because where the actual handles connect inside the suitcase is on the corners rather than in the middle, you get a lot more usable volume. You don't have those like annoying ridges that, yes, you can use them to like sneak things like socks into, but all in all, I prefer having a flatter surface that has more space in it. And then the second thing, and really what I think is the true game changer for me personally, is because it is wider and you have this like really nice beefy handle, you just get a lot more stability, a lot more control, especially when this thing is, you know, weighing 40, 50 pounds. We were in Europe last year and there were two times where we walked from the hotel to a train station and it was about a mile, maybe a little less than that. But between that, we had a stroller, the kids, but the weather was really nice, so it was a worthwhile adventure. Yeah, we were walking through cobblestone, uneven pavement, a little bit of everything, and this thing was an absolute tank, and a huge reason for that was because of this wide handle design. The second thing that I really love about this suitcase that is also a differentiator, you don't really see it very often, but is having this additional grab handle in the front, especially with a bigger suitcase like this. I can't tell you how many times I've grabbed it on by this and it's feels super secure. You get a nice little tactile feedback from it. I kind of wish they incorporated it on the carry-on version as well. It's not as needed, but nevertheless, I really like that. And then the last point is the suitcase is $330, at least the 28-inch version of it. It is not the cheapest luggage on the market by any means, but if you compare it to a lot of the popular options out there like Away, Base, Monos, July, etc., and now Bellroy entered the check luggage game. For comparable models, this one is usually like $40 to $60, $70 cheaper than all of those. I want to say at whatever point you get the suitcase, you're going to get some sort of discount for opting into their email program, 10, 15, 20%. And they're a pretty promotional heavy brand. So you should be able to get it for under $300. I bring up the price point because, look, I have a YouTube channel where I review travel and everyday carry products, bags. All my life, I have valued those things more than the average consumer. So I'm comfortable spending probably more money on a backpack or on a suitcase than your average consumer. When it comes to check luggage, I want something that's quality, something that's gonna last, something that's functional, but I also don't wanna spend a crazy amount of money because I know it's gonna get beat up and I don't want it to hurt my little fragile heart when I see it gets like dented or scuffed or if it ends up breaking. And I think at this price point, they can do whatever they want with it. And it's held up really well. 2 years later, we've done at least 7 international trips with this thing. And this is a newer version that's gonna be inherited by my mother-in-law, hence the black. I am kind of anti-black suitcases, but yeah, I mean, like there are scuffs and scratches and the most infinitesimal indentation here, but she's held up really, really well. Let's talk about the carry-ons and I'll pack it out and give you my final thoughts. All right. Make sure that looks good. All right, we're cooking. I think I can sit for these guys. Okay. So this is the 20-inch carry-on, the Voyageur one. And then this is their new Adventure, also 20-inch carry-on, and it's top loading. Now, given the price difference, a couple things to take into consideration, which I still feel like I wish the discrepancy in pricing between this one and this one was $50 to $70. But either way, so one, this one, you get an expandable zipper. So for all you overpackers, you're gonna love that. With this one, you do not get that. And then secondly, this is top loading. Before I get into the inside and just share my thoughts, I will say my mixed feelings around this, right? They're wide handles. I don't know, it's kind of like the guy who only works out upper body at the gym. It feels a little bit disproportionate, the size of the suitcase with the grab handle. It's not a huge deal, but I guess like where I'm getting at more than anything is that this feels a little bit overkill relative to the overall weight. But I think for people that maybe you live in New York or a place like that and you don't want a duffel and you're constantly walking from your apartment to a train station, like you're doing a lot of public transportation and you're commuting a lot, then I think having the extra stability here is really nice. Now, the reason why I have mixed feelings around it is because I am a massive fan of having a luggage pass through on my backpack, getting to the airport, and then just putting my bag in here. Now, with these suitcases, you can't do it, at least in the traditional sense. What you end up doing is grab a backpack here, is doing this, which it still works, but you gotta cinch the straps pretty tight, and then it's sitting there sideways so you get better stability to it. And then it also depends on the backpack that you have here. This works. It's not the end of the world, but me being like a top-down backpack access kind of guy, I do prefer having my backpack sitting upright. So just something to keep in mind if you're considering a carry-on version of one of these. For the big one, we'll throw like our second backpack over it like this, but that's like my wife's bag with more like kid stuff, and she really doesn't freak out about optimization and little things like that like I do. Okay. Now, between the two, I'll be honest, let me start off with the Adventure. I have always had suitcases that open up like a book traditionally. And so I thought, you know, top loading would be interesting, but probably not for me because I like organization and segmentation, but I might be converted. There's a lot of benefits to top loading, and I'm curious for anyone that has switched over from traditional to top loading, have you hit the point of no return? And if so, why is that? So with this one, you have a drawbridge style opening, right? Where it stays in place. This compartment, you can throw a laptop or whatever you might want in there, and it stays snug. So at least in my limited experience, what I see being big value adds is just it doesn't take up as much space, right? So if you're gonna be going on a cruise ship or you're staying in a lot of like hotels that are small or hostels, it is more comfortable to access the suitcase like this than having to fully open it like a book. Another component is you don't have to be as strategic, right, about how you pack. When you have the two sides, especially with bulkier things, you have to make sure you don't have anything too bulky on one side or the other to make sure it closes. You have to do a little Tetris with shoes, whereas here it's just one big cavity. And so I kind of like having a separate side for different things, but I think it's also because I've just been so accustomed to it. But once I started packing this out, I was like, man, I really don't have to think about it as much. So when you see me packing it out, you'll see what I'm talking about. But that is really nice. I would say the downsides and the types of people that I would recommend against getting something like this are the kind of people that they never unpack, they live out of their suitcase. Like me personally, like unless I'm there for like 1 day, and in that case I wouldn't be taking a suitcase, I usually like take my stuff out. I enjoy it, it's therapeutic, but my wife usually is not that person. Having everything stacked on top of each other is kind of a pain, having to move things out of the way just to like dig down and get your things. The other scenario where I think having a traditional suitcase would be more valuable is if you like to split up your dirty stuff and your clean stuff, right? At the end of the trip, a lot of times that's what I'll do. I'll have a little like travel hamper and then throw that on one side. The liner fabric on this one is a little different from the standard one. It feels slightly more premium. You get like almost like, I wouldn't say it's like padded, but almost kind of padded, a little thin padding on the bottom of this one, whereas with the other one you don't. And then zipper wise, you get these like very curved, crazy zippers on the Adventure that I'm actually not a fan of. I imagine the reason why they have it is just because in order for them to click into where the TSA lock is, probably why they went with those. But yeah, I would say Pilgrim churned butter, zipper smoothness rating on the Adventure because of like this crazy design and with the zipper pulls, how it kind of wants to like twist around. Like 8.7. And then with the Voyageur, more standard zipper pulls. They're smooth, they're good. I like them, but not out of this world. I'd say like a 9.0. Like enjoyable, but just entering the world of enjoyable zippers. And then with this guy, you get, you know, the two sides. Little mesh action on this one. So you don't have compression straps on this one, whereas on this one, the two side organizer pockets, when you see the pack out, you'll see what I'm talking about, but you do get some compression if that's important for you. And then the liner is also feels good. It's more of like a heathered gray. Again, feels slightly more premium on the other, but nothing crazy there. I would say with the carry-on version, it's solid. It's like $250, $260. I think for me personally, I value more having a traditional handle with a carry-on suitcase because of the whole luggage pass-through thing that I talked about. And so that kind of ends up taking like their most important design element that's the biggest value add on the checked one, and it diminishes it. So I still would recommend this suitcase, but just for people that are maybe like plopping a duffel, or they really don't care as much about having the ability to put your backpack through a luggage pass-through on one of these two. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna pack in the two carry-on so you can see what fits in those, and then what I'll throw into the checked ones. So, pair of shoes, toiletry kit. This is socks, underwear. I'll link like the things that I'm throwing in here in case you have any questions. Here I've got like 6, 7 t-shirts in this packing cube. And then some thicker things. Springtime, so I've got 2 overshirts. One's kind of like a short coat, knitted cotton sweater, and then some denim action for this guy, the Adventure. I feel like you just don't have to play as much Tetris with your things to get everything to fit. And I think especially for people that pack bulkier things in here. So these things are both compression straps as well as like little organizers. I like that they go out of the way. So jeans, throw these guys on one side. And then worth calling out, this one has an expansion zipper based on what I'll put in here, which I think is like a good amount of clothing for what I would take. I didn't feel the need for it, but just so you can see. So there's that packing cube. And then because you have that vertical space, you don't have to be as strategic, right, about where things go. So bam, everything fits in there really comfortably. You've got still leftover space, and this is like without using an expansion zipper if you want to throw in like sandals, etc. But you get the picture. And then with this one, you get this sleeve here. So if you are not using your laptop on the plane, that's pretty nice. I kind of wish there was maybe like another way to get in here without having to open it up, but this is a 14-inch MacBook and it fits. I would imagine you could probably fit up to a 16-inch laptop in there. And no problem. And then you have this little snap button mechanism. Right now, like, I'm not really needing it, but for anyone that overpacks, you still have more volume with it expanding, and then this compression strap. But there, all of that stuff fits really comfortably. Here you do have to be a little bit more strategic, I think, especially with like things like shoes, but I think regardless it'll fit fine. So packing cube there, shoes, toiletry bag, you still have space there, you could fit sandals or whatever. With this one, you do get both more and less organization depending on what you want to put in there, and you have a rubber, like silicone type semi see-through compartment for toiletries and things like that. Now, I think one of the added bonuses of having something like this is that if you're the kind of person that, like, at the end of a trip, you want to segment your clean and dirty things from one another, then yeah, I think you can do that more easily without relying on having just something to put them into. But yeah, both fit fine. Okay, so with the bigger one, I'm gonna put the same stuff, but I'm also gonna add a whole nother packing cube with another like 7 shirts, a thick jacket, and then a paddle jacket, just so you can see what fits in here. You get also kind of like a bridge style sleeve that just allows you to segment stuff in here. And as you can see, because the handles go into the suitcase on the sides, you don't get that bulk and you get more of that like functional usable volume in the middle of it. So gonna one packing cube there, one packing cube there, 2 over shirts, sweater, shoes, toiletry bag. You could fit, I mean, you have a good bit of volume here, so you can fit a couple other pairs of shoes in here. Ton of space. Then on this side, like in the smaller one, same exact pocketing. I've been just like throwing my paddle in there so it doesn't take up as much space elsewhere. And then thick jacket, pants, and then you could fit probably like another couple pairs of pants and another jacket in there. So ton of space. So final thoughts between these two: if you're the kind of person that when you get to the hotel, even though you aspire to unpack and be organized and all of that good stuff, but you know deep down you're gonna be a lazy bum, you're gonna be living out of your suitcase, then go with a traditional Voyageur, being able to open it and not having everything stacked on top of one another. is gonna make the access and organization easier on this guy. If you are gonna be going to hotels that are small, whether they're hostels or cruise ships, things like that, and you wanna be able to comfortably get in there, that's one reason to go with this one. Secondly, if you're an overpacker and you don't like to think too much about doing crazy Tetris to make sure everything fits, the overall volume on a top loader, while they both fit about the same amount of stuff without having to lean into the expandable zipper, it feels like things just fit more comfortably and more mindlessly on this one. And then really the one that I'd feel most comfortable strongly recommending is the checked version of their Voyageur, because that wide grab handle that they incorporate gives you much more like stability and control, especially when you're carrying something that's gonna weigh 40 to 50 pounds, that's bulky and packed out. It's gonna roll like a tank through the streets. And then secondly is the fact that where it connects, it's on the borders, so you end up getting more usable space in the middle. But yeah, they must have some crazy patent. Maybe it exists at some knockoff version, but if they don't have an ironclad patent, I'm very surprised that more luggage companies aren't doing more creative things with the grab handles like what Level8 is doing. But yeah, other than that, best of luck and cheers.